what can we do as a community to help solve some of the violence that you've seen? We're gonna start off with the attorney.
So I think it's we have to start tackling these issues at a young age, because oftentimes by the time kids, so Judge Cam, he can at least do something when the kids are still young in his system. Oftentimes by the time a defendant comes into the adult system, he has already gone through the prison system, or he has already committed other crimes, and it's much harder to change a fully formed person than a young impressionable mind. So I think we need to start doing this at an early age, and it's going to require partners from both the law enforcement and from the community. And it's going to require involvement. So I'll just give you an example. As part of our job, we have modeled this program called the Breaking Down Barriers in conjunction with middle school in Dallas. And the Breaking Down Barriers is supposed to be a program where we address issues at a really young age. So we have about 25 to 30 students that have been identified by the school and the counselors as being at high risk for gang violence or youth violence. And so our program is one where we bring them a diversity of presentations and speakers or activities where we try to redirect them and try to show them that there's other ways to, to do these things. And so we have students there, they're just kind of hitting the trajectory where they're about to hit the criminal justice system. And we have students that have already had contact with them. And so our programming, we call speakers that are officers, we call speakers that are former gang members, people, victims of crimes, anybody who they can relate to show them every aspect of it, to show them that, look, you don't have to go down this path. There are many options and many choices for you. Or just because they make one wrong choice does not define you for the rest of your life. But it requires a lot of work, because I can tell you that the most identifiable issue currently that we have with those young students is that they don't have proper role models. They don't have anybody to look up to, or they don't have anybody they can talk to call in the middle of the night, or when they're about to go, do something. They don't have that one person that they can call. And so I would like to expand that program where not only we show them the diversity of speakers, we give them some mentors they can connect with.
Judge Alex, same question to you.
Yeah. So Jesse, it's so hard to make something simple of what's so complex, right? Life is never like that. But if there's three major things that I see in the youth that come through my court, is that one, I see a pattern of parents that don't want to be a parent. They want to be their kid's adult friend. And as a parent, sometimes you have to give your kid bad news. You have to provide structure, you have to set boundaries, and you have to enforce those boundaries. We have a lot, if there's a pattern that I see of kids coming through, is they're lacking that role in the parent. Now, this is not always the parent's fault, right? You have single moms that are working 3 jobs that just can't be there because they would rather supervise their child less in order to provide a roof over their head and food on the table. And I get that, but that doesn't mean the void hasn't opened up, right? That is just one more void that maybe can't be avoided, but that is also a void that needs to be considered. And we figure out, because I guarantee that if a parent's not there to provide structure for their child, somebody else will step in. And a lot of times the person stepping in is another gang member, it's peers from high school, or another, just an adult who has, who will provide that kind of that role model, even though their intentions aren't good. Maybe they need a drug mule, maybe they need a lookout, maybe they need, a hang around, whatever it may be. Other thing that I see is that we have a lack of accountability with our kids. We see so many children come through our system that have never, ever truly been held accountable. They've made mistakes, they've had problems, they've never been arrested before, but the parents say, well, I don't know what to do. And there's no real consequence to this. And that's part of the problem too, is that a lot of the children have never seen consequences, true consequences. The looks on their faces when I tell kids, and one of my, isn't not a rule, but it's kind of one of my policies, is when a child in Tarrant County is arrested and there's a gun involved in the offense, I always detain them. And I say always, there's a couple exceptions, but generally speaking, that's what we default to, because I'm pro-gun, but I think children should only have guns when they're supervised by an adult. But on their own, I don't think children have the mental capacities or the decision-making skills to be with guns. And so I detain them. A lot of times it's just to tap the brakes and slow things down. Say, I don't know why you decided to bring a gun to school, but Is it because you're looking for somebody, you're looking to shoot, you're worried about defending yourself because somebody's trying to harm you? Is it you're bringing a gun to somebody else because they want to use it to hit a lick? Like, I don't know. So let's just slow down here. You're in our detention facility. I'm going to hold you for at least a day, maybe a couple days, maybe longer, until we figure out what's really going on and it's safe for the community for you to get back out, or safe for you because you may be a potential victim as well. That's why you brought the gun to school, or brought the gun had the gun in the car when you're rolling around. So I always do that. A lot of these kids look at me and the parents look at me and they can't believe it. They're like, well, so what if he had a gun in his car, right? So what if he was other people that robbed a convenience store? He's not the one with the gun. I'm like, hold on. If he knew that there was a gun going on, there's going to be a robbery, he knew there's a chance that the gun was going to be used or somebody would use a gun against them. That's not okay. Let's slow down things. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's make sure the community is safe before we release this child. Gun violence has dropped down to an all-time low in Tarrant County when I started doing that, juvenile gun violence, right? But it's in the sense of accountability. And going back to what I was saying is this consequence, a lot of these children and a lot of these parents are shocked at this idea that there is a consequence from a judge for making a bad decision. That's what I think is kind of the key things on how to address the juvenile justice issues here regarding gun violence. It's just consequences, accountability, and then stop being up here. Like, I'm not worried about the people here. I mean, y'all are here. Y'all are the people's. Y'all are part of the solution, not the problem. But there are people that are part of the problem where they just want to be the buddy for their child instead of a parent.
Attorney, what's your message to today's youth? What's your message to them?
I think my message would be they need to focus on their family and their loved ones, because at the end of the day, those are the only people that matter in their life. When they're in trouble, when they end up in jail, none of their homeboys or partners ever come back and put money on their books or call them or do anything for them. It's their mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, whoever they have in their family, grandmothers. I have defendants whose grandmothers drive them to court to show up. At the end of the day, none of this peer pressure, none of these friends in the streets, none of them care about them, nor will they ever go down for them. And that is this idea amongst our youth that if they do this for their partners are going to do this for them. They're not. And so strengthening relationships with their loved ones, putting their loved ones as a priority, maybe even not a loved one, put God first, whatever that positive influence is, strengthen that relationship. And most importantly, I hope that our young people can learn some empathy, because what I'm seeing from dealing with the youth at the middle school is they have started to lack empathy. They will see a video of somebody get hit by a car and they will laugh. They will see somebody get stabbed and they will laugh and think it's funny and hit their buddy and say, look, that is heartbreaking to me. I could never watch a video of somebody get hurt and not feel something. So we need, and I think that the reason they lack empathy is because they don't have these strong relationships with somebody who can teach them empathy. And so I just to not trust their friends. Their friends are their worst influence, because that's how they always get involved in bad things.
Judge, same thing to you. What's your message to our youth today?
And if I could tell kids, and this is what I tell my son, there's 3 things that would make me proud as his father. 1, be honest. Don't lie, cheat, and steal. Just be an honest person, right? 2nd, be kind, right? Just treat people that you would want people to treat your family, right? Just kindness costs you nothing. Nothing is truly free except for being kind. Just be kind. The last thing, whatever you do, work hard. Be the best at it. If you want to be best at school, work hard at school. Sports, whatever you do, but work hard, put your time in, and become the best at it. You do those 3 things, right? You're honest, you're kind, and you work hard, and you have self-discipline. Man, I can't imagine me being a more proud father. If every kid could take those 3 things and do that, this world would be a totally different place.
This is a question to the moms. Take about a minute apiece of each one of you. What is something about your son that the world should know that we do not know? We'll wrap it up in maybe like a minute or so.
Well, my baby was a God-fearing man. Well, I think the world know that, though. He was funny. he was really a sweet. He not a kid. He still be a kid to me, but LaMelvin, we had fun with him. At home is clowning, and he's the class act. He's gonna entertain the family. He's just, he's not a monster. He's not. He's very loving. He love his family. He love his kids. He loved us, and he was really a good person. This is a boy.
Thank you. Thank you.
She kind of threw me off. I was listening to her. Can you repeat the question?
What I
again?
want you to tell us is, what about Duck that we didn't know? What would you tell the world about Duck that we didn't know and that we need to know?
Well, of course, y'all, he spoke about God a lot in his rap, so he was a God-fearing person. Of course, y'all knew he loved his mama, so I can't talk about that. But something y'all ain't know about Duck, he was heaven sent. He was here to serve a purpose. We might not understand it now, but it's going to pay off. He was loving. He was heartfelt. He was the goofiest person I ever knew. He got that from me too. Like, he very family oriented, protector. Oh my God, he was smart. He was just a joy. Like, oh my goodness, that's why it hurts so bad sometimes when I think about Carlton, because I knew what he was doing it for, and I knew what he wanted to do. He really had plans when it came to this music stuff, and he felt he can use it, that was the gift God gave him to save his family from the struggle. And he didn't know a lot about it, but that's what I'm here for.
Thank you. Mo3r.
Well, what I would want the world to know about Shondell that they didn't know is that he was just a 15-year-old kid. He wanted to live life happy, enjoy going to the mall and going to the movies, playing with his friends, stuff like that. This lifestyle they trying to portray my son to be, my son didn't choose that lifestyle. But most of all, he was funny. And he always kept it real.
Thank you. Mama Snupe.
I would say that Snoop was class clown. He was a joker. He was a real joker, very, very intelligent. He was very mature for his age, and I would just say he didn't play no games when it came to how someone treated him. I wouldn't say that he didn't have respect for authority, but he didn't care about what position you was in. You definitely had to respect him in order to receive respect from him. He pretty much stood his ground when it came to respect.
Today, we all gather here to try to do one thing, and that's to try to stop our young youth from killing each other. And just to shed some light on how serious this thing is. Alex, I hope you can answer this question for me. What's like the youngest case you had to try as a kid? What's like the youngest?
Oh, we get 10-year-olds in all the time for hitting their brother or sister over laundry or the phone or whatever. But we also get 10-year-olds for killing their siblings by crushing their heads in. We have sexual assault cases from children that are under 14, not a young prepubescent curiosity thing, but true like grooming, predatory sexual behavior that they learn from porn or from being abused themselves. We have capital murders that are, you have to be certified as an adult in Texas. is 15 is the cutoff unless it's a first degree or capital offense, then it's 14. But we have 13-year-olds here for capital murder in Tarrant County. You know, there's an escalation going on right now with children that, and I think social media feeds into this, where everyone's trying to outdo each other. And I think what happened when we were younger is our universe was so small. You know, for some of us, it was the end of the street and back because that's all our parents would let us go, right? But our universe is so small that kids naturally want to one-up each other. That's part of being a kid. But you can only one-up so much when there's only 3 buddies hanging out. When you add thousands or hundreds of thousands of people in the social media universe, and now you're actually part of your trying to one-up and compete and escalate things is off of likes or upvotes or shares or retweets, man, it accelerates pretty quickly. And that's what's causing, I think, a lot of these younger kids, when you combine the fact this sophomoric childish desire to be recognized and to one-up other people, to be competitive in that way, combine that with the fact that you don't have the neurological brain development to ever say stop, slow down, this is a bad idea. That's a horrible collision course. And that's part of why we have so many young kids doing so many bad things, because they don't think about the consequences. What's driving them is a desire for recognition and for attention.
Same to you, attorney. What's the I know you have to wait until they get certified, but what's the youngest that you've had to defend?
I think the youngest was 16, but I remember watching when I was interning. I got to watch a lot of body-worn cameras, and this is something I always remember. And it was a drive-by shooting. So this kid was living in a house with his grandma and his siblings and his 12-year-old brother, and he was talking smack to a group of guys. And so that group of guys who were well established in the neighborhood decided to do a drive-by shooting, and they, shoot up the house. Of course, the kid that was talking smack survived. But I remember watching the body-worn camera, and the officer who responded got up and was looking over the body of the 12-year-old who was shot up all over, and his eyes were, hanging out. And I'm sorry to be graphic, but this is something that we deal with on a daily basis. And he was 12, and I will never forget that. Currently I have a capital murder where there was a victim who was 16, who was stabbed 24 plus times brutally and left in the park to die. And so we in the criminal justice system see this on a daily basis. And to see somebody who is 16 or somebody who is 17, who is just starting out, right? They haven't even really had their first real job. They haven't graduated high school. They haven't even had a kid, or they haven't gotten married. They haven't done any of the... Yeah, they haven't even started to shave, and they're already dead. Their life is dead. So, I don't get to see the defendants as young as, anything less than 16 really, or 15, but I do have victims who are very young. And it's usually victims who are innocent bystanders, like the 12-year-old brother, right? He was just in the house and he died. Or a mother that's screaming because her baby was murdered, because of a drive-by shooting. And so it is horrific. And I don't think that our young youth thinks about their actions. They just think they're like, oh, he was talking smack, let me go shoot up his house. But the fact that this baby died, who's going to be held accountable for that?
Thank you. I hope you two taking something back from this panel, and that's my next question. From what you've heard today from these grieving mothers, what do you take back from this panel? Do you think this panel was positive? How do you feel about this panel today?
Well, I'll be honest, Jesse, being here today makes probably the hardest part of my job harder. I used to be a criminal defense attorney before I became a judge. And so we weren't really focused on the victim, right? The victim from in representing my client, not as a human being, but as an attorney trying to help my client, the victim was usually something that would make things worse for my client. That was always one of the balancing tests. How would a jury see the victim when they testified, the punishment phase? As a judge, it's a little different. In the juvenile system, the victims have actually rights that they don't even, more rights than the adult system have. And they actually have a right to be at every hearing. They have the notification right that's the same. They have right to speak at an allocution, which is, they're allowed to speak. In adult the victim can only speak after the sentence is pronounced in Texas. In juvenile, they're allowed to speak before the sentence, so the judge considers what the victim says in assessing the punishment. All right. The conflict that I have, and one of the hardest parts of my job, is the juvenile justice system is not about punishment. It's about rehabilitation. It's about setting a child on the right path so they don't reoffend. And that is what the focus is. That is the mission of juvenile justice in Texas. And so one of the hardest parts of my job is you see victims that come into a courtroom, right, when there's finally a trial. In the adult system, it's years. For the way I run my court, it's usually within 6 months of the crime. And trying to explain and making sure that the victims understand, in a juvenile case, the law does not allow me to punish kids. The focus is on rehabilitation. And I see so many victims that come into the courtroom thinking that they want justice, when the reality is a lot of them, because it's so fresh. You know, we're only months removed from the actual death or the robbery or anything. They actually want revenge. And as a judge, it is heartbreaking because I can never, ever issue an order or sign a document or make a decision that will bring a child back. And I just can't do that, as much as I wish I could. And yet some of these victims are here that's really all they want, is they just want their son back. And in their minds, they haven't grasped. Duck Smile, how long did it take for you to understand that he was gone? Or weren't you saying that you were still, that was 3 years. Imagine 6 months after you lost your son, that's the day of reckoning in court, and you're still not mentally there. It took you 3 years to get there. And all of a sudden this judge is saying, you know, whatever his decision is, right? Whatever's appropriate. And then for you to try and reconcile that, deep down inside, all you wanted was your son back, and you're not even close. And finally, 3 years later, you realize it's not going to happen, and nobody can make that happen. But as a judge, that's something I have to do every single trial, every single case where there's a victim, is to try and explain and try and give my ruling in a way that they understand that I can never provide justice, because one, we're not supposed to even give revenge. It's not about punishing a kid. The focus is on rehabilitation, because that will save countless lives down the road. And that's what our laws in Texas are designed to do. So today, ladies, and I mean that in the highest regard, because truly y'all are ladies, and inspirational. If anything from today, Jesse, it's made my job harder, because now I understand even on a deeper level of what the victims go through and how much less I can do compared to what they're feeling. So, but it's been incredibly informative for me to have a better understanding from that perspective, even if it does get frustrating a little bit more.
Thank you. Johnny?
So today's panel, really what it reminded me of is how hard our jobs are, and how much more work we have to do, because we have not even begun to address the problem. And I will leave here with a heavy heart, because I see you and I hear you and I see your tears. But I'm also positive, because I see this need for us to do something different and for us to speak out. And so I'm happy, because I got to hear from you and get to hear your stories, but also I got to meet people that I would like to talk to and see if we can collaborate and do something on the community side. And so in addition to prosecution, let's see what we can do to curb this with the youth. And who better than people who've gone through the system, or mothers who are victims, who their sons were taken away from them. So even though I leave with a heavy heart, because I know you guys are still suffering, I'm positive.
Go ahead.
I just kind of want to bring light to this, because I don't think, in your position, anyone in America in the courtroom is paying attention to this. And it's very important to me, and I'm trying to get educated on how I can bring about this law. So what I've been doing in my journey is noticing that the victims' families are in court all the time around the holidays and around our child's, or, the victim's birthday. And I just think it's because no one is brought to the attention. Something can be done where you can look at each case at the date and say, hey, these particular days are blackout dates. It's the hardest thing to do is sit in court and look at your child's accuser during you're already dealing with memories, the holidays, the birth date, all these different things are running through your head, because when you lose your child, you don't see your child as the age when they were murdered. that day, the labor pains come back to you. All these different memories come back to you. And so I think that the judicial system is not paying attention to our feelings. I think, and it's just because maybe no one's just spoke up and said, hey, can we black out these dates? We are not going to take this family through this more than what they're already dealing with. These are blackout dates because the holidays cut off, birth dates cut off. And I think that would help us just to already deal with such a trying task that we're already dealing with the grief of it. Help us out by giving us some blackout dates.
Good suggestion. Hey, I want to thank the attorney and I want to thank the judge for showing up today. If we could we give them a round of applause, please? And up next, we're going to have some of the young guys that served some time during their juvenile years. Appreciate y'all. Thank you. All right, fellas, if y'all could take a seat up there, young. Okay, well we have some men on the panel that actually have served some time, whether it be juvenile or went from juvenile on up to the prison. But we're going to get some of their input also. Yeah, we need to bring Ms. King up also. Definitely. And Ms. King is a juvenile worker also. She's a detention center officer. Got it? Okay. Y'all got the microphone up there? Please help on with that. Okay. You want to sit up there? All right. If we could, the new people that just came up, if you could you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Wayne Graham. I'm from Frankton, Louisiana.
My name is Eric Brown. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana.
My name is Derek Burton. I'm from Houston, Texas.
My name is Eugene Genuine Ivory. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Kenry Wilkerson. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
I'm Keisha King. I'm from Dallas, Texas, Oak Cliff, Texas. I'm a supervisor now with the Dallas County Juvenile Department, 22 years in that department, and also over 25 years with juveniles in its entirety. So right now I'm currently the supervisor over at Medlock Youth Facility.
Well, we're going to just jump right on into it, man, because like I said, we're here to hear y'all voices, to see what y'all got to say to save some of our youth of the day. And if nobody else can help them guys, y'all can. So they got a message to hear from y'all. And we're going to start off with you, man. If you can, just tell us some of your backstory. You told us where you're from, man, but kind of give us your backstory, man, what you've been through and everything, and what you think what's your message that we can give to these youngsters, man, to stop them from killing each other out here.
Love.
Already.
Love. That's all it is. It's a lot of hate, man. We hate each other these days. But I lost my mom when I was 13 years old. And like one of the ladies said, I died too at that moment at 13. At 14, I went to juvenile facility for attempted murder on a police officer. I came home when I was 17, 18. I went to the penitentiary for conspiracy to commit the crime, murder, shooting in an occupied dwelling. When I was in prison, I lost my sister. My sister, one of my family members, a relative killed my sister and her boyfriend. He was robbing her boyfriend, and my sister tried to help him, and they ended up shooting the boyfriend, so they had to kill both of them. So I was in prison. They let me come home to the funeral, which was on a Saturday, the day before Easter. And they let me come home. I went to the funeral, so I had a chance to see my kids at the funeral, sit on the front row with my kids. And so we went back to the prison. They took me back to the prison. And the next day, which was Easter Sunday, I woke up to call to check on my family. And when I called, they told me that my son had got killed. So, and I was in prison. I had like 70-something days left. And so when I was in prison, I was kind of bitter. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna kill everybody. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And I was bitter, like I was angry, and I was a violent person. I come from a violent background. But it was like when I was released from prison, it was like I had anger, and then it was like God just was like, it ain't gonna go that way. And then a police officer, what really opened my eyes up was a police officer come to me. He said, if I was an investigator, I'll tell you who I'll look into. And I was like, stop, right? Because I seen the cross. Like, you finna tell me, yeah, if you're a police, go check on it. And so, like, for a long time, I was bitter. And then I just learned to, like, just let go. Like, I prayed. And I just learned, I just let it go. And like my family, they thought I was tripping. Like, this nigga going crazy. He ain't doing nothing about his son. But I realized it wasn't nothing that I could do but keep the cycle going. Like, you know, and then I had made a lot of people cry. Like, I hurt people. I was a hurter, a real hurter. And I hurt people on mom, you know, kids. I made mamas cry, daddies cry. So I looked at it like, God, it was like, I reap what I sow, you know. And a lot of people look at me today, you know, because I done turned my life around. Like, I'm an author, you know, I have businesses and everything. But a lot of people look at it like I got away, but I didn't get away because I lost my son. So I died too. It's easy for God to kill me, but he didn't want me to go. I had to see this, you know what I'm saying? So he put it in my face. And like, it's crazy, but like I moved forward and I lost a lot of family members, like my baby mom. They said a lot of ugly stuff to me, like, oh, you coward, you know, you bitch ass, you let these niggas do this to your son. But I realized it was out of my hand. And I realized that the devil was trying to trick me to lose my freedom again and keep this cycle going. You know what I'm saying? So I let it go. And I changed. And when I when I was in prison, I wrote a book. Well, the lady gave me she told me, she said, you're a good dude, bro. She's like, you know, you come from a good family. I can tell you're a good dude. She said, I want you to go in your cell and just write. From the moment you remember pain, just write and tell the truth. And mind you, when I went to prison, I couldn't read or write. Like, I couldn't read or write. I couldn't do none of it. And it wasn't because I was dumb. The school told me that I was dumb because, like, when my mom died, I was 13 years old. So I'm sitting in the class with a bunch of kids. They got their mom, their parents, they got everybody. I'm over here grieving. There's nothing for me. I can't concentrate on no work. This is what it was. You know, I realized later. And the teachers, they didn't have a program for me to go get no counseling or no help or nothing like that. So what they do, oh, he dumb, push him to the side, right? So then when I went to prison, a dude gave me a book, Nathan McCall, Make Me Want to Holler. And I read that book, and it reminded me so much of me, like, you know what I'm saying? So the lady said, go in there and just write. So I wrote and I cried, I wrote and I cried, I wrote and I cried, because it was just the truth. It was just me and the truth. And I wrote and I cried, and I got through. She was like, man, she was like, you get somebody to edit this, this could be a book. So when she said that, it was like, bing, the light went off. I just kept writing, and I just wrote for years and years. When I come home, I had my book on. It's like I went through a lot. I'm the type of person, if you tell me no, then I'm going to go. I can do it. Like, I don't just do it. You know, if a person tell me no, right. If you say I can't do it, then I'm going to prove you that I can do it. So I come home, I had the book out, and I was working with this, with Boosie. Boosie was locked up. I was working with his mom because nobody was helping him. So, like, I went in, like, you know, because I seen his mom hurting. You know, I didn't see none of the crime, but none of it. I seen his mom hurt. And I went in and I helped her. And then, and I was going through that. And then CeeLo, the rapper, he tell me, he's like, man, he was like, hey, bro. He was like, hey, man, you got to focus on yourself. He's like, there's something in you, but, you know, you give me a lot of courage. So I thought about it, you got to build your own brand. I said, damn, I got a book in the closet. So I went and got T-shirts made. I had book covers made. If
you don't mind, could you share with us what's the name of your book?
Loyalty, Love, and Betrayal.
Loyalty, Love, and Betrayal. Okay.
And I had all this stuff made, and I was passing out T-shirts. I was passing out flyers. So one day I flew to California, and I told the lady, the lady said, I gave her a flyer. She was like, where can I find your book at? And I told her, I said, you know what? The book ain't even out. I said, the book ain't out. I give up. She was like, why you give up? I said, because I can't find nobody to edit it. Everybody taking my money, like, you know, they bullshitting. So she was like, give me your number. I'm going to have somebody call you. So, like, about 2 months passed by, a lady, Miss Suzanne Ferry, she called me, a white lady from Hollywood. And she said, do you have your manuscript and your bio? She was like, send it to me. And I sent it over to her. She said, I never did nothing urban. She called me back. She was like, man. She was like, your story got to be heard. She was like, I'm going to help you. And this has been like 4 or 5 years ago. This lady been working for me ever since. Like, you know, she with me. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I call her, I need this, she with it. She like, your story got to be heard. And so she went on, put forward the book. I put the book out. You know what I'm saying? I got a good response from the book. It was overwhelming because I didn't think it was going to, you know, do as much. And So all I say is, what I had to learn to do is that I tell my OGs all the time, like Jamie Seafood, I got some homeboys, one did 27 years, one did 30 years. They basically taught me everything I know. But the stuff that they taught me, it was all bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It took me to grow up to understand that. And I tell them now, they get mad. I be like, man, y'all niggas misled me.
You just became a man.
Yeah, y'all misled me. Y'all taught me bullshit. And I had to learn that. And I tell people this, like, you got to learn how to live again. I had to learn how to love again, how to communicate. I had to take all the bullshit that I was taught. I had to take it out, just do away with it, and then, you know, bring the new stuff back. And it started working, and I just started separating myself from people. And it was kind of crazy because a lot of people like I wanted to be with, like I grew up with, and they just started separating. So I knew then I started feeling the maturity, I started feeling the change or whatever, and yeah, so now today I'm here, I'm changed, man. Been home 14 years from the penitentiary. And yeah, so yeah, it's a good story.
What's your name again?
My name is Eric Brown. I'm a native of New Orleans. 9,125 days. 9,125 days. I was compelled to grow up in once was known as the bloodiest prison in America, Angola, Louisiana State Penitentiary. Not only did I have to endure that ordeal, but I also had to, because when I went to prison at 16 years old, I brought my whole family with me. My mama was there, you know, everybody that loved me, you know, they was hurt and heartbroken for me. To have a baby boy growing up in the bloodiest prison in America where you treated like a dog every day. We rap about that shit in them songs, but you don't want to live like that. You had to be a dog. We had to fight for the last piece of bread sometimes, you know, and it's just an honor. And I'm just so thankful to have my sanity right now today, to be able to come home and share. My mother just made 24. She just turned 82 years old. For her to still be alive, to see me come home and be the man that I am today, that is an honor. That is, I'm grateful for that. And one of the most heartbreaking things that I had to discover out here is that my most valuable asset as a man that any man could have, having a word, having principles and morals, it is not respected no more out here. My most valuable asset that I have, because when you go to prison, you don't have no more money, you don't have no more nothing, no more freedom, no nothing. All you have is yourself, your dignity, and your respect. And to grow up in an environment like that, not only was it just heartbreaking in that sense, but I had to endure two brothers, blood brothers, biological brothers, out the same womb, from the same mother, same father, die in that place. My brother was murdered, shot in the back by security guards. My other brother, I was in the dungeon fighting the charge because they constantly harassed me because my mother sued them for 19 years for the murder of my brother. And that made a target on my back with the warden. So they wanted to use me as a tool to scare my mother into dropping her lawsuit. And I told them, don't worry about me. I'm going to do what I got to do in here to survive. You just do what you got to do out there. You know, you want to fight for justice, that's what you want to do, then you do that. And she did that for 19 years. And the Attorney General of Louisiana had to ask my mom where she get her strength from. So that's why not only do I sympathize with these mothers up here, I empathize with these mothers, because the duty that I have today is not to come out and glorify the fact that I went to prison and I was a giant. You can say my name, it was E Law. If E said that, that was law. Because they know if I put my name or my stamp on something, I meant it. I stood on that. And to know that that's not valued out here anymore, that's crushing. You know, that's crushing. And while I was going through that, we trying to get, like the lady said, you know, you trying to endure one death or one murder in the family. Then I'm in a dungeon fighting a trumped up charge. And they come to my cell and tell me my other brother died. I'm like, what? Y'all done killed my other brother now? You know? And so it was only one time in those 9,125 days that I thought I really had lost it, when I thought I saw my brother in that cell with me. You know, but my natural intuition knew that it wasn't real. So I had to snap back. And I knew that the greatest thing that I could do from that point on is to make it out alive for my mother. To make it out of that place alive, because you got two of us sons, you're not going to get three of them. And so I'm here today to let the youth know that, you know, when we talk about, like the lady said, you know, how you disrespect her son's name, And it's like, first of all, how many ways we could kill a nigga? Like, kill a nigga this way, kill a nigga that way, excuse my language, but I'm just being raw with it. It's like, if you glorify to it, sometimes I be listening like, dang, that shit sound fun. But when you look at it from the eyes that I have, because I see it from both sides, I see the mothers that's crying, I see the pain. So it's like, wait, hold up, man, I can't respect that to a degree. I can't. You know, my principles and morals are not going to allow me to respect it. And getting to that point, at 16 years old, no murder weapon, no eyewitness, no fingerprints, no DNA. Nobody got on that stand and said Eric Brown committed this murder, but yet I was sentenced to life without parole plus 30 years. They told me I had to die after the life sentence to come back and do 30 more.
Can I ask you something?
Yes, sir.
I just got informed that you were wrongly convicted, but you have no remorse, no anger. You're not mad. Man, I'm gonna tell you something. I've been getting messed over since I've been home because my heart is just so genuine. I'm just happy, man. They told me I was gonna die in that place. So to be here today is not only an honor just for the fact of the cause that we're doing, but it's a relief on me. It's a relief on my mother to see me out here doing something constructive with my story, something constructive and positive with my life, hoping that I could not only help prevent another child from growing up in prison, but also help that child, prevent that child from taking somebody's life, man, putting these mothers through what they going through. Yeah. You know, because and that's the name of my book that I'm coming out with that I completed. It's called Crime is for Dummies. I want to show the youth the stupid side of crime and punishment that the rappers don't show. They only talk about the glorifying side. I went to prison and I did this and I did that. But let's talk about how I watched my mother age. I used to go to that visitor shed and something that the prosecutor said back there. I witnessed this. When I see these dudes out here talking about gang, 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 gang. When I was in Angola, you know what that visiting area was filled up with? Black women, mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts. We say aunties in Louisiana. You know, that's what I witnessed in that visiting shed, in that visiting area. I didn't see no gang. I didn't see nobody, no partners putting no money. You know what my father said? He said, son, before he passed away, I wasn't even allowed to go to the funeral at all. My nephew was murdered, wasn't allowed to go to the funeral. My uncle Pat wasn't allowed to go to. So I haven't been to any funerals with all the family members that passed away in 9,125 days. So I never got a chance to say my goodbyes to my family. I never had a prom. Never been I didn't grow up normally like the rest of, normal society. I had to grow up in the, the abnormal is normal and the normal is abnormal. So I had to hold on to my sanity and say, well, man, I see all y'all going to the basketball court. I'm going to the law library. Wherever y'all going at the least, that's where I'm going to be at. Because I know that that's right. That's where I need to be at. I'm not going to follow the crowd. You know, they say dead fish go with the flow. I'm not a dead fish. So it's compelling to see that where we at today in society with the situations with the police officers killing us, we got our own people killing us. It's just like we see other races and cultures coming together and uniting, but yet we can't do it. You know, we can't do it. But it brings me back to the Willie Lynch theory, you know. I don't know if y'all know about that. Turn the light skin against the dark skin, the short against the tall, the fat against the skinny, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever differences that we have, it was used to separate us and divide and conquer us. And that's what we're dealing with today. I was convicted under a law in Louisiana that was established in the 1800s before any of us was born, and that law was designed to perpetuate slavery. It's called the Pt2 law. The non-unanimous 2 jurors found me not guilty. And I still was sentenced and convicted to life without parole in the state of Louisiana. 16. Yes. And the U.S. Supreme Court just overturned that, but they saying the people that they did it before is not retroactive. So they saying, forget about us. But now they stopped it. And they admitted that law was racially motivated because the 13th Amendment allows slavery if you were convicted of a crime. And with the juvenile issue, that's how I'm home today. Thank God for that. Brian Stevenson from the Equal Justice Initiative. It was discovered by doctors that the prefrontal cortex or the frontal lobe of the brain is not fully developed until the age of 25. Therefore, a kid or anybody under the age of 25 is prone to change. Like you could grow and mature and become somebody different.
And so you shouldn't be condemned to prison for the rest of your life. You should be given an opportunity to show that you've changed. And that's what I've done. When I went on that parole board, the parole board said, man, we see you've been a busy man. Because a lot of guys started getting certificates and accomplishments. I became a Toastmaster, became a paralegal, a public speaker, CPR certified, because a lot of our fellow inmate brothers was dying in that place and security wasn't doing anything about it. And so we studied CPR and we started developing a life-saving skills and help people. But I just want to say to the youth, man, small minds discuss people, average minds discuss events, but great minds discuss ideas.
Man, thank you. Go ahead, man. Introduce yourself.
My name is Derek Burton. I'm from Houston, Texas. I was raised by the state. Starting at an early age, I can never forget when I first walked in on my mother smoking crack cocaine. And this was around 85.
How old were you?
9 years old at the time. But when I walked in on my mother smoking crack cocaine, I was never the same no more. It's like I watched my mother right before my eyes choose drugs over her kids. And that turned me into a whole different kind of kid. And my father wasn't there. He was in and out of prison at the time. And so I acted out in many different ways, seeking attention, seeking love through this way, seeking attention through stealing cars, joyride, fighting all the time, committing crimes. You know, I went to juvenile detention at, I think I was 10, 11 years old. From 10 years old to the age of 14, I was incarcerated, I know, over 14 times. As a kid, I was placed outside the home over 9 different times. Harris County Youth Village, emergency shelters, TYC. I've been to many different group homes, you know, and they labeled me that I was a menace to society, you know, and I was carrying guns. I even carried guns in middle school. I was one of the kids that carried guns in middle school. I sold drugs at the age of 10, 11. I done seen murder, you know, even as a young kid. I used to talk to the older guys that went to prison. I wanted to know the prison stories. I already knew I was going to prison. You know, they told me when I was, you know, that I was going to end up just like my dad, you know. So, you know, I carried that out. You know, I wanted to live that moment, you know. And the more I went to juvenile, the easier it became, you know, and I learned how to fight harder, you know. So it was fun to go to juvenile. It became something to brag about. You know, I had teardrops when I was 11 years old. I had the gun tattooed on my chest that said kill, you know, at the age of 12, you know, and I ended up getting capital murder and attempted capital murder at the age of 14 because I went in telling someone that we're going to go rob this guy. You know, it was 2 white people back then. But in my mind, I'm not thinking like I'm going in to kill this person. You know, I'm saying you know, you think you can show them the gun, they're going to give you whatever you want. And that's the mistake that a lot of the kids make, thinking that, you know, you can go in with a gun and it's going to be just like you thought it was going to be in your mind, but that ain't the case, you know. So I went in with the intentions of one way, but it ended up like it was a dream to where now it's somebody dead. You know, 2 people shot. And I was caught the same day. I ended up getting 22 years determined sentence. And that means that you go to TYC until you right before your 18th birthday, and they bring you back to court and determine if they gonna release you on TYC parole or send you to prison for the rest of your time. I received a favorable recommendation from TYC in 1994 to be released back in the custody of TYC. However, the judge, he saw fit, because the prosecutor at the time, she said, look at him. I'll never forget this. She said, look at him. She said, can't you see he was born to kill? And my grandmother yelled out, no, this is the first time, you know, and in my mind, I'm like, was I really born to kill? You know, and this been with me the rest of my life, you know, and I was raised by the state. So I went to prison. I was 17 from TYC. It was different because in TYC, they teaching us everything. I'm thinking, you know, to go home, to learn all the thinking errors, the inconsiderate, the self and others, the blaming, the justifying, from the minimizing to the hopping over the sidetracking. I done learned about my offense cycle, you know, my life cycle, where I went wrong in my thinking. I got my GED, I got a welding certificate, why I got to go to prison. You know, so in prison, I became a whole nother person.
For the good or the better?
For the good, and I was caught up in the prison. You know, it's like I'm raised by the state. I gotta make this world my world. You know, I gotta enjoy the moment as I can, because it's a whole lot of years. You know, from 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. The years just keep going. And is it gonna ever end? See, as a kid, and now it's like you get so caught up to where it's like you can't see no ending. You can't see no ending. And then one day they come to me and they told me that my grandmother passed. My grandmother was my everything. You know, that's when the reality of me, you know, set into how someone else felt that done lost a loved one. When, even though my grandmother wasn't killed, when she died, that's when I felt the pain that I never felt in my life. You know, that's when I understood, like, what it feel like to lose somebody. That's when I started having victim empathy, saying to myself, well, somebody loved my victim. You know, somebody, his family, you know, hurt behind what I done to him. It wasn't until what happened to my grandmother. My mother died 2 years later. So it's like everything that I loved and cherished before I went. Now, when I come out, they gone. You know, and then not being able to go to the funeral, being told that you can't even go say goodbye to the woman that gave birth to you. You know, it's a different pain. And so, yeah, it's a different pain. I
got a question for you. Can you explain to us about your sister?
My sister. What about my sister? Like, well, you know, in prison, I'm gonna just say I was one that I knew how to figure out a way out of no way, you know. And when my mother died, my sister, she was, I think, 11 years old at the time. She wanted to kill herself. But, you know, I figured out a way to where I could speak to her and telling her, like, you know, don't go out like that. You know,
I'll work through you.
Yeah, we gotta continue to fight. You know, this not the end of us. You know, it's more to our bloodline than this. You know, and we gotta figure out a way to break this, and we gotta keep living. We can't just give up like this. You know, and I knew that I couldn't give up. Like, no matter what, I knew I can't give up. I can't stop fighting because I don't want to die in this place, you know? And I was on 11 different units. And I can honestly say I feel that I made it out with my sanity, but I was recently, you know, I ain't told nobody this, but a couple of people. About a month ago, 2 months ago, I was diagnosed with PTSD, generalized anxiety, and bipolar disorder. So they telling me that I've been carrying trauma in my mind and in me ever since a kid. You know, and I realized that it's real. I know even though I want to be normal and I want to sometimes act like I'm normal, I know I'm not.
You've been through a lot.
You know? And at the same time, I know I got to share my story because I really want to see some youngsters not go the same way that we went. And if one thing I can say to youngsters, I want to say, you never know how a situation gonna end when you're going into it with a gun. You never know.
Appreciate you. Appreciate it.
My name Eugene Ivory. Round of applause. My name Eugene Ivory. I'm gonna start my story at 17, cause that's the confirmation when I went to the penitentiary. I know that it's a couple of guys that I had met in there that I'm glad that I came home and met. And I'm gonna start with when I went to the penitentiary. I know that my family retreated from me. They refrained from me. They was somewhat ashamed. This was those years ago where everybody was working hard and they didn't want to be They didn't want to be tied in with people that was doing bad. They wanted to be remarkable, memorable people of the community, and all of those upstanding stuff. But so happened I wasn't part of that line, not intentionally, just things that started to happen. But the impactful thing is that once it did happen, it was all on me. I copped out for 15 years. And once I got to prison, I started to realize the difference between the slow pace that I had for myself amongst a crowd of people and the fast pace that was on side of me that I wasn't even recognizing because I was just in my own world. So as I'm gonna come on out the prison touching because I don't really got the mind frame. Somebody put something in my drink when I came home. So I don't have a good memory to expound on all that. It's just I go back to the fact that I appreciate some of the people that I met in there because they upstanding and they kind of made sure that the communication of this mental is so important, and they made sure that I stayed stable on a whole bunch of areas. These two of my brothers right there. So once I come home and realize the effect that the family support didn't have, that it did have once I came home. 15 years ago, their lack of support affected me 15 years afterwards because I'm really out here on my own. Making up for, having that type of, with somebody having that type of influence on your life and it's not a positive influence and it's against the character of the being, because I don't live up to nobody, nothing. I just kind of do me and be who I am, because especially since the drink situation, I let God kind of lead me, and he keep me around people that make sure that they telling me something good, because I've been misled a lot. And it get lonely out here, like brother Eric said. Once the only thing that you got is your word, and that's a no conscious regard out here, then you kind of feel like everything that you're striving for is in vain, because the plain you or the simple you or the pure you want to adhere and uphold and respect, but that's a disregard out here. So you kind of get back to yourself, and now I don't have mind enough to reach out, so I sit back and try to figure it out until So my conversation to the youth is gonna be simply find you somebody that's gonna be wise and help want to see you do some of your best stuff, because it's a lot of people out here that fear is they love, which fear is hate. You can't be in love and be scared of nothing. You can't be in love and not push forward on the things that mean something to you. Now, where the purest form of me is upholding me to my word, which is all that I got. I came in here with that. That's my credit. But now materialize or some influence by some outside force that's not of character of God starts to be what speaks against and for me at the same time. That's scary. And that's what a bunch of the children going up against, because they really don't know who to trust. You got an OG right here that'll tell them one thing, but you got somebody that don't mean nothing to them that's going to tell them the best thing. They really don't know who to trust. So that fear disallow them to love. They ain't going to make the connect. They're going to make a disconnect, and the disconnect going to go on further and further, because the stand-up guys is going to sit back kind of at the wheel of the new real is fake. Ain't no war. We can't go to war, but it's 90% fake, so to speak. They ain't going to teach you how to be the best you that you can be. And that's why I appreciate God for allowing me to come out of that dungeon and still find myself fellowshipping with upstanding men that want to see the communities and the development of their communities be better as the day goes.
My name Kenry Wilkerson. Insane. Same. I was originally one of the first Crips in the city of Dallas. And I was one of them kids that they say, that boy been here before. So that's just to say that I was a man child. I was a child that took on outdoor responsibilities at an early age. But I went to prison for murder, 2 attempted murders, and aggravated assault. I took on a fight that wasn't even my fight. I went and killed somebody in the name of responding to my call of duty, so to speak. It's kind of like when we kill, we think we doing an honorable thing because we think we represent what we claim to represent to the fullest. You know, at the age of 15, 16, 17 years old, you don't have a concern about what your actions is doing or who they gonna affect. Your mind don't even process information like that. We killed kind of like as a form of recreation. And I'll say this here, most of the crimes, I say this, the crimes I got convicted for don't nearly match the crimes that I committed. So, but it's crazy when you allow yourself to become because the concept of this is how murder changed me, right? And I say that we kill as a way of just kind of like identifying who we was. This was our culture at that time. So a lot of the murders that we committed, because we wasn't like these kids now, a lot of the stuff that we did, we didn't talk about it. So a lot of the times, the ones that we got caught for didn't even match the ones that we truly was guilty for. But committing that murder gave us a sense of fulfillment because in our young minds, we thought we was doing the right thing. We thought we was doing an honorable thing because it's kind of like we was protecting ours. Even though as you start to evolve and grow up from it's like when I was a child, I thought, spoken, understood as a child. But when you start to growing up, you understand that the concept of ours didn't even exist. It was an illusion. Because like who would the judge or the district attorney say when you doing that time or when you start that process of suffering, the only people that stay is mama? Yeah, them the only ones that's there. That's true. But we killed as a way of feeling important. We killed as a way of identifying who we was. And our twisted mind, that meant something. That was something that we hung our hat on, and it was something that we cashed in on over the years. Or when you don't know no better, that's what it is. It wasn't until years later that I started to understanding that I done dedicated my whole, because I ended up getting 20 years. I pled guilty to murder and had a bunch of stuff dropped. But over the years, I started to understanding that everything, because I wanted to go to prison. Going to prison was a part of my ambitions in life. I didn't want to graduate high school. I didn't want to get no job. Because in my mind, what I wanted to be, I had to go to prison in order to fulfill it. But it was in the process of trying to fulfill this journey that I realized I've been played. I've been tricked. This shit ain't shit. It ain't no benefits to this shit. This shit ain't nothing but a life full of consequences. No benefits. So once I realized that, I started to changing on the inside, because the worst thing you can have a kid to do is have the pressure on them of trying to live up to the expectation of a reputation. See, I had a reputation that went with my name that played games on myself. Every time somebody called me and reiterated that false ideology to me, it made me feel obligated to act in a certain way because my name was insane. So in my spirit, I felt like I had to do shit that represented an insane way of doing it. So over the years, once I started to evolving, I knew the first thing I had to do was learn how to value something else, because everything that I valued and wanted to be, I done accomplished it, and it wasn't nothing but consequences. So I say, the first thing I got to do is change me. So I changed my name from Insane to Sane. And I had to recreate myself and figure out what I want to do in life, who I'm going to be in life, how I'm going to even start the process, because I never wanted to do nothing else. All I wanted to do was break the law and do wrong. I felt good doing that. So I had to figure out who I was going to be, how I was going to be it. So I started working on myself, and I put forth the effort to understand it, how I became to be the person that I thought I wanted to be. And from that understanding, I was able to put together a plan to become the person that I knew I had to grow to be. And so, you know, I'm not fully developed right now. I'm still developing, in the process of blooming. You know, coming up here speaking is part of my developmental process, because I'm a real private person. You know, I move in silence. I come up under the ideology of real niggas move in silence, sometimes violence, but only when necessary. So to come out here and speak in front of a lot of people and share my embarrassments with y'all, you know, it's a seed that had to take some root and produce life. And that's what I'm kind of exemplifying right now. But as I've been sitting around here listening to the district attorney, listening to the judge, listening to everybody, I'm kind of like in a maze, because we never even have the desire to care what murder looked like from the other side, because we just perpetuate the act and we never think about it really. It's kind of like we just block it out. So for me to come here and see the pain that our actions cause to the mothers, you know, it's a reality check for us. You know, if it's a reality check for me, because we carried out these acts so carelessly without caring, no concern for nobody other than ourselves. And for that type of thinking and that type of behavior, I'd like to apologize to the people of the people who I've hurt, intentionally and unintentionally. I'd like to apologize to the mothers in here that's been tortured from dudes that think and feel the way that I did. And so yeah, this is kind of like my journey of mending my wrongs and using my pain to try to assist in this plight of saving a nation of endangered species. Because that's in fact what we are, a nation of endangered species. But the danger come from ourselves. If we don't have to worry about the external dangers, majority of the time it's the internal dangers, it's us. But when I look at it and I try to assess what the problem is, I narrow it down to a few things, because I'm a father of 7 kids now. So I can take my mistakes and my bad decisions and use it to kind of guide me in directing and assisting and molding my kids. And the number one thing that allowed me to be the person that I was my value system. That's where it started, because I wouldn't have did any of that if I didn't value doing it. And in my mind, I valued it because it was something that I had to do. It was something that just went with the lifestyle that I had to pledge my allegiance to. It was something that was valued in that walk of life. So I valued that because it gave me what the attention keep people nowadays from the social media. The same stimulation that they get from posting something and getting likes and what the robot talk. The same stimulation that people get from that is the same stimulation we acquire from carrying out the acts, because we received a sense of recognition. So the first thing we have to do is work on making sure that when kids are developing, that they start to develop in the right types of value system. Now, how we do that, that's, you know, that's a dilemma in itself. But I think the value system of the kid controls, directs, shapes, and molds the footsteps of the child. Because if I had valued different things, I would have made a lot of different decisions, a lot of different choices. So yeah, the number one problem, or the number one thing we should attack with these kids is their value system.
Hey, Miss King, before you get started,
Okay.
this is something I ask to all the kids when we go, me and Charleston, we go to the schools and everything. Whether it's 10 kids out there or 1,000 kids out there, I always ask young men, and I'm gonna ask y'all this: how many of y'all on this panel grew up with your fathers in the house? You grew up with the father, yeah, we had two. I think. Miss King,
Yes, sir.
I mean, you're a professional at this here.
Yes, sir.
I think you seen them come in the door, you seen them come back in the door,
Yes, sir.
you seen them flourish out there, and you seen them go down the drain.
Yes, sir.
What's in your opinion that you can give our youngsters out there to help them through this, and what can you tell these young men to help them heal also?
Well, like everyone said, there's really no one answer at all. You can't. I mean, if it was, I'm sure that somebody would try to bottle it up and, charge billions of dollars to get it taken care of. But to start out, it is like Charleston and I often talked about. It starts with a holistic approach, and this right here, what we're doing right now, this is where it starts. Awareness, making people aware, because a lot of people not aware. Like he just said, I never looked at the victims' family. I ain't worried about them, so he wasn't aware that they had pain. Like he said, I was locked up. This man still hurting today. He hurting. I'm a mother. This baby hurting. I can see that. So he said the system raised him, but he missed his mother. He still misses his mother. But as an adult, who helping him right now? He said he got his two brothers, but they still hurting. Who giving him back what he needs? Who feeding something back to him? He still needs more. Who's pouring into him? So the holistic approach begins with what we're doing right now, making awareness, making everybody aware, making people aware. Like you had Mr. Cotton here. Everybody don't do social media. That man be on social media. All the kids know him. We don't have one child in here, but it's going to be 1 million children seeing this because of him. We got to hit everybody, though. It can't just be a secret thing. It can't be, they don't have to know where we are, but it can't be, I'm going to tell Denisha about it. So Denisha going to tell her, but she ain't telling nobody nothing. She ready to go to the club. I'm not picking outside, but she ready to go out tonight. She's not worried about that. But this is how it starts, with a big platform, different varieties, because we basically are the core, the workers inside of that place. You never hear, we don't get the free lunch. We don't get the donuts, but they work the dog shit out of us. They work us because we get every entity involved. It's not a cultural thing unless you make it that, because we're talking about our children, but it's Caucasian kids in juvenile. It's Chinese kids come to juvenile, Hispanic kids come to juvenile. I mean, we are the core. And what I try to teach my staff is, you may be the only love, parent, God, adult. You may be the only any of those that these kids see. Make sure you be there first before you be the person that clock in. I know they say don't take stuff home with you. Don't bring stuff to work with you. Come on, y'all. Come on. Me and my husband just fought. You think I ain't brought a little of that? Boy, you better sit your ass down. Don't talk today. Don't say nothing. But also in the defense of the judges and the prosecutor, they're human also. I tell them often too, be very careful, because you have put your life in somebody else's hands. You have to be very careful about that. So with that being said, my heart goes out to these guys. At the same time, my heart goes out to the mothers, because I'm a mother first, but I have to sit there with the kids that possibly have killed your child. I got to do my job. I still got to love them. I still got to give all that love, and I'm going to do it. Oh, they love Miss King. I'm going to do it, because I'm from Oak Cliff, so I'm from the hood. So you don't have no excuse for not being successful to me. I've seen black men sell dope in Oak Cliff and still be successful. So you cannot do that to me. You can't tell me where you from and where you live at, what part because you're lying. I know where that is. Your grandmama stay over there. You don't. Go sit down and be quiet. Yeah. But that's the kind of environment that we are in right now. A lot of stuff is about attention. Like you said, how many likes I get, they want to spread the money and this and that. But like you said, they don't want to go work for it. Also, unrealistically, we give them um, expectations that they probably won't be able to adhere to. Oh, you're gonna go out there and graduate. Ma'am, he's in the 6th grade. He probably won't graduate. Tell him to go to school tomorrow. Just go to school one day because you want to give him a goal that he can succeed so he can feel better about himself. When he go out there and he don't graduate, now he done failed everybody. But if he go out there and go to school tomorrow, damn, shit, I went to school. So the next day he might answer a question. The next day he might help the teacher. And then before you know it, he might actually pass that class. Then I could come home and say, Mama, I passed that class. My sisters, we gotta come on with it. It's a parent thing too. It's a parent thing too. I done had some phone calls. What's up, my nigga? The kid look at me. That's your mama. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to, but you saying what's up, my nigga, to the kid, and he looking at me out of respect, like, Mama, you can't talk like that. He told her that. The kid told his mom, you can't talk like that. I'm like, oh, he got to go back home to that. You making it hard for the prosecutor. You're making it hard for the judge. It's not a lot that's all their fault. So sometimes, we gotta come on with it and be parents again. We have to start back being parents. Like you said, we have to start taking accountability for some of the stuff that we done. Now, granted, at the same time, you have the mothers that sit here. They work hard. They work hard as hell. I'm one of them. I've dedicated many hours to other people's kids. I've dedicated many hours to my own children. They work very, very hard. We work hard at what we do. But at the same time, like he said, it's a gap. Even though you're providing, something's still missing. No supervision. You don't know what's going on at home. Next thing you know, she's sitting over here. He done touched her leg. Hey, he raped me. How he rape you? Y'all be over here every day. Blah, blah, blah. What you gonna do? One of two things. You gonna hide it or you gonna tell somebody. More than likely, the little girl's mom is gonna tell it. And then your son got a whole sexual charge for what? For nothing. For a touch. But you wasn't there. So the supervision counts to the prosecutor and the judge, because who gonna watch them? When I send him back, who gonna watch him? So we gotta do better on that end also. So let's get into it, y'all. Come on with these questions. Come on. Come on. Yeah, come on.
Hearing these kids, hearing these guys' stories.
Mm-hmm.
25 years.
Mm-hmm.
You work with what, Dun over there?
Dun,
number
Dun
7.
Yeah, number 7. Some well-known up-and-coming rappers. I work with some of those guys.
Y'all put in the work.
Put in the work. Yes,
you see this kid coming in saying yeah, no, and he leaves saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Soon as he go back home, he got a robbery case.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect the worker?
It affects me in the fact that I gave all I could give for what I could do, because we have a certain cutoff professionally. I'm what I consider unorthodox. I don't give a damn. I love them children because they come back to where I live. I live in these streets. I live here. I give, like I was just telling Mama back here, I see him on the bus stop. Hi. Miss, what's up? Here you some money, man. Get y'all something to eat. Get your homeboy something. That's me. I don't have it. My kids don't have certain stuff. But I see that need because I know either they ain't going to eat no more that day or either they going to come back and eat. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Also, like he said, it becomes a community. I understand y'all feel like he keep getting in trouble. Y'all don't realize how much of home those facilities are. When you don't have a home where mama go to work every day, when you have a home where mom goes to work every day, you got to realize Miss King is going to be at work every day. So what does Miss King become now? I'm mama. I don't take out. If I take out, where the hell you been, Miss King? You ain't asked us if you can go nowhere. I went on vacation, baby. But do you know where your mama is? I got a smart mouth too, but it's all in fun. I ain't gonna abuse nobody's kids, but I'm gonna talk a little noise to them. But we have a good time. But 3 meals a day, snacks, and then now they kind of brushing, talking a little shit. They done got more snacks. So I mean, and then they roommates, they cellmates, they become brothers. And then what do you do in jail? Shit, you learn more crimes. Shit. I mean, you learn how to do more stuff that you ain't never really done before. How you do that? So he teach him one. He teach him when they not fighting, of course. He teach him something. He take, oh, that's how you hit the lick. Where you stay? So now I know another area I can go to and rob some people because he just told me he stay over there. That's what he do. So he got caught where he stays. So now we can go over there together and we can rob them over there together.
We've actually seen that scenario play out here locally.
Yes, sir.
With some kids who was incarcerated together when they got out. They all committed another murder together.
Yes, sir.
Talking to the guys that come home from prison. What's the hardest thing y'all had to do coming home from prison, being locked up from childhood, being locked up from childhood to adulthood? What's your hardest battle?
I think 9,000.
Well, after 9,125 days, you know. Oh, look at y'all just don't know, you know. But yeah. But anyway, like I was saying, them 9,000 I'm just playing. But yeah, one of the hardest things for me to adjust, because like normal things, like, you know, I talked to myself. I was able to in those cells, I knew that, you know, it's kind of sound corny, but it's real, man. See, education is what kept my mind tight. I was in them law books, man, studying, constantly learning, constantly figuring out how to get my freedom, because I never started on that life sentence. And so the hardest thing to come out here and readjust is the fact that there's no principles and morals out here. You know, everybody just don't give about nothing. And, you know, and things that I hold dear to me and valuable to me is no longer respected out here. And that's the main cause of the destruction that we see today. You know?
I think one of the hardest things for me is accepting the fact that my mother was gone and my grandmother was gone and my little brother that was 8 years old when I left, now he got life. And you know, it's just, yeah, it was just different. That's my hardest moment.
My hardest moment is realizing that perception more respected than reality, and that being bought and sold is more of a fad than being real, or what you saw to be real or true to what you do. Just the way influence is facilitated outside of God's intentions.
I would say it's two things. The first thing was coming to the realization and accepting the fact that what I had sacrificed so much and gave so much of myself to didn't mean shit. It was no rewards in it. And nobody didn't respect it no more. It kind of like when I done it, you know, it brought a lot of recognition and it gave me what I wanted at that time. But over time, don't nobody care no more. It expire. And the second thing was for me to stay committed to being this person that I didn't know how to be.
The hardest thing for me was coming home was connecting with my family. Like I wanted my family back, but like it was like the distance, time had brought so much distance along. So it was like that was the hardest for me, which I'm still working on today. And when I come home as a man was with my kids, like it kind of like put a gap between me and my kids that I'm still trying to work with today. But like you say, nobody gives a fuck today, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of hard, but that's the hardest for me, you know, is getting the family back, you know, because I come from love. I know love. My family know love, but it's just so distant. It's like there's no getting back, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's so gone. So that was my hardest, you know.
This event, the intent of this event is really to highlight the victims with so much violence going on in society. This was for the victims. I wanted to put you guys up there because we all understand we paid a debt, right? But we still owe a debt to our victims. So that's why we do what we do in the walk of redemption to try to share our stories. So that's why I picked these guys. They all killed somebody when they was kids, young people. And this is what redemption looked like. I want the prosecutor to see it. I want the mothers to see it. This is what redemption looked like. This is what the killers look like when they have empathy for what they done. We didn't have it at the time. We didn't know it. But at some point, you get it. It may be 30, 40 years. I once told my brother, God ain't gonna never let you out of prison, nigga. You ain't got no remorse. And he didn't at the time. He got remorse now. But he gray haired. He old and gray. And he finally made parole. It wasn't nothing that he can convince people of. They end up seeing it. They end up seeing it. So I wanted y'all to see this. Yeah, I wanted y'all to see this. I wanted y'all to see these guys.
You did good, Charles.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So with that being said, I want this mother. I was a little nervous about her speaking because Judge Alex sent her son to TYC. And I walked outside and I heard her thanking Judge Alex for sending her son to TYC. But that's her son in the box right here. So I wanted her words to close out this event. So here you go, Mom.
I'm gonna see him up here. I can sit back here. Wish we had some youth here. So, how murder changed me? Murder changed me really at the age of 12 when my 16-year-old brother went, and I might get emotional, but that's okay. My brother was 16. His name was Dream Fletcher. He was sentenced to 45 years in prison at the age of 16 for committing a murder. I was actually on May 26, 2019. I was actually out to go visit him. I hadn't seen him in 22 years. I didn't want to take my kids with me because you can write anything in a letter and make it sound good. I didn't know if my brother was good. I hadn't seen him since I was 12. Like, we grown people now. I don't know if he in here gay. I don't know if he got tattoos all over his face talking to himself. And I just didn't want to face that with my children. So I went to go see him for myself. I found I left my two younger boys with their dad, but unfortunately I felt like my older two were responsible enough to watch themselves. So my 18-year-old daughter, I left her. She was working. I left her basically responsible for my 16-year-old, knowing he had behavior issues, but he had just got out of TYC. He was just let off his months. I'm like, I'm gonna try to trust him. I'm knowing he bad as hell, you know, but I'm like, I'm gonna see if I can trust him. I'm gonna leave him. So I'm out there visiting my brother. Had a wonderful visit, but I felt sick the entire time. I just could not get right. I couldn't feel good. I'm like, why am I like this? Later that night, I was gonna go see my brother the next morning too, because you know you get two visits when you're so far away. I was gonna go see him the next morning, but didn't get to make it because I got a phone call that my son had shot somebody and he was scared, so he had ran. But I think they was telling me that story to kind of keep me calm, to try to get his number to see if they can find him. When the real story was my son had went to commit a crime to kill someone, but his life was taken. He was trying to go get a lick back that didn't have nothing to do with him. His homeboy was killed like a year previous, so he wanted to go get back at the guy who still stayed in the Butler Projects that killed his friend. My son had a lot of behavior issues. I started seeing it at about 8 years old. I wasn't just a young mother just raising my kids. I had already experienced like all the struggle, and I seen it, and I didn't want my kids to have to go through it, but I still ended up a single mother. So I'm working long hours. I can't, it's only 24 hours in a day. I work at a hospital, a mental hospital, so I'm gone away from home 12 hours after that. Yes, he goes to school, and like they were saying, like supervision, all that plays a part in this. Like we can't just always blame it on the music. Like at some point, us as mothers, even the ones that's losing it, like we got to accept accountability. It was a lot of times I left them unattended so that I can go to work and put food on the table. Is that right? No. Is that a bad thing? No, because I'm still going to provide for my kids, but it's not a good thing either. So, over the years, I did that a few years. So he ended up going back and forth to juvenile and stuff like that. Again, I'm still working, so he's still being unattended sometimes. So he picked up behaviors that I didn't know. I didn't teach it at home, but keep in mind, I'm a single mother. I'm not putting him around the right people. No, I don't got men running in and out of my house, but he do walk to the store and see them at the store just chilling all day with their pistol. So he picking up on behaviors. And that's what led to May 26th. But my son was not 6, he was 16. So some of these kids, the choices that they're making are the reason they're losing their lives. And yes, it comes from the lack of supervision. Even the trauma us parents go through, it rubs off on our kids as well. Some of this shit is mental. Some of it is generational curse. Keep in mind, I was visiting my brother who took somebody's family life at the age of 16. My son was 16 going to take somebody's life and he was killed. Like, it's not just the music. It is the upbringing. It is the environment. Like, and it's the kids. They need to wake up. Like, they are responsible for their choices, and consequences is after every choice we make, whether good or bad. When we do good things, we get awards. When you do bad things, you get punishment for that. And I stood in the judge's court, and he asked me, I remember him asking me, Mom, what do you think we should do? What do you do with a criminal? Like, I believe I'm a woman of integrity. Wrong is wrong, right is right. My son was going to take a life, and that's what makes me think about forgiveness, because that's the hardest part about murder. I had to forgive the man who killed my son, but so that I could move forward. That's why I'm here today, because I'm moving forward. The biggest part about my son's death is because I know he had a choice in his own death. You could have not taken a gun. And the whole part about it is I knew everybody. I grew up with the man who gave my son a gun to go do the murder. I knew the man who killed my son. Like, it's a lot about it that hurt, but the good thing, like she was saying earlier, is I found my purpose. I'm here to speak and let it know, like, it's not all just, we can't just blame it on the music. Us as mothers, we got to we got to be accountable for what went wrong while we were raising them as well. Like, no, we couldn't always change our environment because we had money issues. But now that we know these things, I'm raising 2 more boys. What can I do? Like, what can we do to help them? Everybody's so worried about generational wealth. What about the curses that's going on? Like, you worried about, can we get these youth and can we make a class for them so we can teach them what you're doing in entrepreneurship? So that we can get their mind off the things that's getting all the attention. Some of these kids do want to do good, but that's all they know. Like they were saying, that's all that's around them. That's all they know. And so I just want to say that I think for the youth, we need to get active, like more things like this, like actually go hit the street and get the word out. Let's go put flyers on doors and let them know we having an event. The youth need to come, stuff like that. We just need to get active and start telling the truth, accepting our accountability, like these men are doing. Get in the street and tell them the bad part about it. Like, I ain't never seen so many kids. Like, I still didn't get like, in the beginning, I wasn't even processing my son's death, and they was excited about the shirts they was about to get made and the shoe. They be excited when their friends die. Like, it's sickening. They be so excited, I'm going to get these shoes. Like, I can't even process the fact that my son is fucking dead. Like, fuck these shirts. And excuse my language, but it's the truth. Like, I'm not seeing him again. Like, I don't want to process seeing it on the shirt. They don't think that deep. They don't think that deep, but that's why we are here. Some of us have experienced this stuff. We could, I suffer from abandonment from my mama. So maybe I felt like that was normal to leave my kids while I was at work. Why I provide. I seen mama do it. That shit ain't normal. We're not supposed to do that. If you know your son has behavior issues at the age of 16, then he still needs a babysitter. Do I think a 16-year-old should need a babysitter? No, I don't. But each kid is different. My daughter was responsible enough to stay on her own. He wasn't. At 16, she was responsible enough to be on her own. He wasn't. We got to treat each child as who they are. So it's just deep. It's deeper than the music. Yeah, that's a big part of it, but it's way deeper than that. Some of this started from us when we was kids, what we seen. Some of this stuff is mental, and a lot of us don't want to acknowledge that. We scared because we want us as when we want everybody to know we got this. I got this house in order. When really you not professionalized in that. You got some stuff mental going on, and you ain't even realized it. So how do you know what's best for him if you mentally fucked up and you just feel normal?
That's your normality.
It's deep. It's way deeper than the music, and I feel like it's gonna take more people to just speak out. Yes, I was nervous to come here today, but I feel like this was needed. This is a part of my purpose. This is why I had to lose my son. To wake me the fuck up. Like I hate to say it all the time, but something had to happen to humble me. I was one of the ones wanting to be loud and talk loud and be cute and all that too, but it took life to happen to me to humble me. And if God had to do it to take my son for me to be able to live out my purpose, that's just what had to be done. Am I hurt? Yes, I am. I wake up to reality every day. I wake up, and it's been 3 years. I'm healing, but I wake up every day facing reality. Robert's gone. I go to sleep every night. Robert's gone. Have I accepted it? Yes, because I know life. I know how it works. I know how God works. Does that stop the pain? No, it doesn't. But I'm going to keep talking about it. Did I get justice for my baby? No, I did not. And a grown man gave him the gun to go do it. A grown man dropped him off. And he still wasn't even, and I don't even feel like the murderer should have been charged because he did what should have been done because my son was coming to kill him and he was going to do that. He was going to do that. If you didn't kill him, he was going to get you. So, like, the murderer only did what any of us would have done. Because if somebody coming at me with a gun, I'm going to kill them. I don't care if they're 12. These kids crazy. I don't care if they're 12. You come to kill me with a gun, I'm going to protect me. So that's just what he had to do. And it took a long time for me to be able to think like that. Because, see, me, and I'm going to be honest, as a mother sitting up here, I wanted a kid for a kid. No, I don't want him dead. I want him to feel like me. I want a kid for a kid, and I've never thought like that. But death of your child will make you think like a monster, too. It was turning me into a monster, too, until one day I looked in the mirror, and I looked at like the Walking Dead. Because all this evil I had done built up in me and how I was thinking. God had to change that. I had to forgive that man for that because he only did with who the man who killed my son was the man who gave him the gun. It wasn't a murderer. The man who handed him the gun, that's who killed him because you sent him down there. The man who killed him was only protecting himself, just like any of us would have. And it's just deep, and I just wish it would stop. It's becoming normal, and it'll never be normal. I've seen several people bury their kids since I've buried mine, and it's just like everybody is like moving around like this shit is normal, and it's not. It'll never be normal. Parents have to wake up. The community have to wake up, but we got to put that village back in the community. A lot of young mothers or grandmothers now. I'm one, and I'm only 38. And that's what's wrong. That's another thing wrong. We don't got them big, strong, big mamas no more. We got grandmothers my age still want to go shake their ass in the club. Still want to pop a pill too. Still want to go hang out and bop. I've never seen so many kids want ops. They want any. Like this shit is sickening. It's sickening, and it has to stop. But it ain't gonna stop with us just coming here and speaking about it. We got to go knock on doors, pass out flyers. Can we talk to your kid? We got to be like the Jehovah's Witness used to be.
Like it's cool to have an event, but this not where the people that's doing it gonna come. We got to go talk to them. You think the 16-year-old with a gun is going to kill his homeboy finna come to this event? No, he's not. He wants to kill people. He like they said, they think it's cool. So I know we scared. The kids got some of us scared, but we still have to go and try to reach out for them.
Well, we have a lot of reference resources in here. We need to do a rap video. Shit, and put it on the internet. Yeah.
I don't even know how to rap, and I ain't
That's what I'm saying.
trying
Yeah, we need to do a rap video and put it in a rap video. Yeah, put all entities together.
But I'm gonna just close with everything happens for a reason. I had to lose my son so that I can grow up and think differently. You know, like I see the beauty in it. Like, yeah, it hurt a lot. It still hurt a lot, but I do see the beauty in it because I'm changing. The way I think has changed. Like nothing is the same. So, I mean, and I feel like I decide whether my son's life was in vain. I decide that. No, I didn't get justice, but I am his justice. This here today is justice. Just being able to speak and tell the world about it. So I thank y'all for letting me.
I want to say thanks to everybody, Charleston, Rainwater, Sean Cotton, the mothers that came out, the guys here, man. I want to thank all of y'all. And I want to give y'all one tool to take back. This is what I give to this is what I give to young boys when we go to the juvenile system. I always ask them, today our kids is like living a lifestyle. They're not really living life right now. So I'm gonna give you this one tool to take back to ask the one young man that you see having trouble, one young girl that you see having trouble. It's something simple. What's more important, your life or your lifestyle? God bless y'all. We had a wonderful day. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all.